What's going on, everybody? David here, back with another video. So today we're going to do a stimulus check executive order update. And I want to talk a little bit about Chuck Schumer had an interview earlier today, or actually it wasn't today, it was yesterday morning. I generally don't get up to watch Morning Joe. It's usually at like 3 a.m. I live on the West Coast, so I do catch clips from time to time. I thought this was a pretty good one, so I want to share this one with you. And also, I want to talk about some good news. So every video that I do from here on out, I'm going to try my best to at least find a good story to talk about, so it's not just all bad. I know we're at a time right now where people are really struggling, and so I want to at least provide something good. We see this executive order happening right now, and it's got a lot of people confused, and they're thinking, okay, well, what about stimulus checks? What about hazard pay? What about all this? So I do want to provide something good, so at least gives us a little bit of motivation to move forward. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first off, if you guys could hit that like button, I really appreciate it. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so the video we're going to watch is Chuck Schumer. He's doing an interview with Morning Joe. Let's take a look.
Leader Schumer, it's Casey Hunt. This, of course, is all predicated on you passing a massive COVID package. It's nice to see you. The president said last night, quote, "The Democrats have called. They'd like to get together, and we say if it's not a waste of time, we'll do it." Do you know what he's talking about?
Fables from Donald Trump. Fables. That's what.
All right, so I'm just going to stop it right there. I want you guys, there's two sides, right? So Trump is saying that Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi called him, or one of them called him and wanted to negotiate and all this. So like I said, there's two sides. Let me know which one you think is telling you the truth when it comes down to it. So let's go ahead and continue.
That's what he seems to specialize in. I didn't call him. Speaker Pelosi didn't call him. No, we didn't call him. He makes these things up, or he hears from somebody at one of his fundraisers or at his country club, "Oh, the Democrats are calling you," and he acts like it's true. Here's how we've left it. On Thursday, I believe it was, we said to them, "We're willing to come down $1 trillion. You come up $1 trillion. When you're ready, come back and talk to us." Here's what I think might happen. This is an optimistic scenario, Casey. So the Republicans, they're in a pickle. You have 20 of them who don't want any money whatsoever, but then you have 10 or 15, many running for re-election, who are desperate to get a package.
All right. Now, interesting he says that, right? So 20 Republican senators, 15 to 20 is what Mitch McConnell's saying. They don't want any stimulus package at all. But then you have some senators. So you have some Republican senators. I think 23 Republican senators are running for re-election. And so now we're looking at a situation where they are desperate for something to happen because it's right before the election. And this will look bad if they can't get something negotiated. So now you have the Democrats have some leverage when it comes to those Republicans, because they don't want to lose the majority. Mitch McConnell doesn't want to lose the majority in the Senate. So he is trying to figure out a way to at least get some of these Republicans to be on board, or they're already on board for another stimulus package, and then bring in the Democrats and then maybe get some stuff done. So there is some wrangling going on behind the scenes when it comes down to it. And you do have some desperation from Republican senators. Not all the Republican senators are just like, let's just not do anything. Some of them do want something done, and they want it done sooner than later. Let's go ahead and continue.
And they're all hanging their hats on this executive order. Oh, that'll solve the problem and we won't have to do anything. Well, now it's clear that these executive orders are going to be minimal at best. I've called them paltry, or 3 words that I've used, which now seem to be in the currency, are unworkable, narrow, and scanty. They just won't work. So it may well be that the Republicans are willing to now sit down with us because they see what they were hanging their hat on. These executive orders are just being more or less regarded at best as ineffective and laughed at worst.
All right. So let's just talk about the strategy. Let's talk about strategy here when it comes to Donald Trump. So let's just say, okay, and now this is just me putting this out here. This doesn't mean that this is what happened, but let's just say President Trump was looking for a way out and basically didn't want to do any negotiating anymore. So he does the executive order in the hopes that it would bring the Democrats to the table. So you do the executive order, not looking, knowing that it's probably not going to work, or even if it does work, I'm sure people came to him and told him, hey, this might not be good for these reasons. And so I'm sure he knew some of the reasons why this is not a good idea. I'm sure when it came to the payroll tax deferral, he knew that Republicans were not going to like it. He knew that Democrats weren't going to like it. And so it wasn't going to be popular. I'm sure with the enhanced unemployment, they told him this is only going to be like 4 to 5 weeks before we'll run out of money. And it's going to take a little bit of time to get going. So I'm pretty sure he knew all this information. I'm sure they told him when it came to the eviction moratorium, it's not really a moratorium, it's more of assistance. So when it came to the executive order, I just think, I mean, he kind of put it out there in the hopes that people weren't really going to follow up on it, or I don't know. I don't know. But I think he was thinking that the Democrats, before people caught on to what was going to happen with this executive order, I think he was thinking that the Democrats would jump on board and say, okay, we want to start negotiating now because we want to get the stimulus checks out and all this stuff. But it looks like it's backfiring on him. It looks like it's not going to work that way. And I think this is his last ditch effort by him saying that, yeah, you know, they're contacting me. They want to talk to me and they want to negotiate now, because that's all he has. That would be if he put this out here, he can always back up and say, well, you know, I did the executive order only to bring them back to the table, and see, they came back to the table. But if they don't come back to the table and they let things kind of go, they just do the wait and see for a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, that's all it's going to take before we start really seeing the effects of this executive order, then I think at that point, the Republicans are going to be running to the table, because they're going to be in a situation where it's like, this is not working. We don't even want this payroll tax deferral to happen, and the enhanced unemployment hasn't even hit the people's bank accounts yet. So I think that's probably what's going to happen in the future. Chuck Schumer's kind of alluding to that right now, where it's like, yeah, you know, if they want to come up to $2 trillion, then we can talk. But if they don't want to come up to $2 trillion, then there's no deal. And we did see Steven Mnuchin a couple of days ago say that they're willing to go higher than the $1 trillion. So they're probably considering it right now. Maybe we should go up to that $2 trillion so we can get things done, because this executive order memoranda, this might not work. Or if it doesn't work and the public sees that it's not working, they're really going to be upset with the White House. So let's go ahead and continue.
And hopefully they'll now come to the table. We're ready, but they have to meet us in the middle. They can't just come to the table and say it's our way or no way. We'll never get a deal. And the reason is not because we want to thwart them, but because what they're proposing doesn't meet the dramatic needs of the American people. The greatest economic problem since the Depression, the greatest healthcare problem since the Spanish flu. We need bold action. We're not going to settle for some skimpy thing that doesn't work. You know, what I called it, by the way, was what I've been calling this is unworkable.
Chuck Schumer, you got to write stuff down. That's why I have these. You got to write it down so you remember, because you look bad on national TV if you can't remember stuff like that.
Remember the words, but they're good.
They're Senator, Mike Barnicle's with us and has a question for you. Mike.
Far too narrow.
He remembered.
That's the
Mike,
words.
go.
So, Senator, let me interrupt you here for a second and ask you a simple question. Millions of Americans are now on the verge of economic collapse that will take them years to recover from. Mnuchin and Mark Meadows come up to your office or Speaker Pelosi's office daily to discuss this problem. Have you seen any evidence from them during these negotiations in the past 3 days that the President of the United States is actively involved on a minute-by-minute basis in these negotiations? And in the last 72 hours, has the President of the United States called you personally to see if something can't get done?
No, I've seen zero evidence that he's involved at all. And he has not called us. I haven't spoken to him. I spoke to him during the last bill when Mnuchin was there. Meadows wasn't, and we got more done. But I haven't spoken to him since.
All right. So this is the problem that I have with this whole process so far. And Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi need to be pushing this. They need to be pushing the fact that, look, Trump needs to be in the room with us. Mitch McConnell needs to be in the room with us. Sure, these other people can be in the room. That's fine. But we should be negotiating with these people. We should not be negotiating with surrogates, because this is, I mean, and this is one of those things you have to play it this way, because Trump doesn't want to lose a deal, right? He doesn't want to lose a deal. And this is one of those deals where no matter what happens when it comes to the next stimulus package, most people are going to win out with this. Okay. We already know they all want stimulus checks, right? President Trump wants stimulus checks. Mitch McConnell wants stimulus checks. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they all want stimulus checks. So people are going to come out with stimulus checks. We already know that's going to happen. When it comes to hazard pay, we'll have to see what they do with that. But other programs, state and local government funding, all this other stuff, they need to have the players in the room. President Trump, Mitch McConnell need to be in that room. If I were Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, I would be demanding that. And if they fail, or if they choose not to, if the president chooses not to be in the room, let that be known, because that will really hurt his numbers. The people are not going to, they expect their president to represent, right? They expect their president to be there. They don't want to see their president on the golf course while there's negotiations going on and they're struggling to pay rent or pay their mortgage and feed their family. They want to know that the people that they elected are in the room, especially if that person, President Trump, says, I'm a deal maker, I make deals. They want that person in the room. And so I don't care if Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer don't get along with the president. You need to have him in the room, because if he's in the room, a deal will get done. You know why a deal will get done? Because he's not going to walk out of there without a deal. So you're going to get more. You'll get more from him just by him being in the room, because he's not going to want to walk away and say, yeah, you know what? We couldn't get a deal, because now there's pressure on him. There's no pressure on him right now. Because all he's saying is, yeah, I have my surrogates in there. They're trying to get a deal. No deal's getting made. Oh, well, I'll be at the golf course. Let me know what happens. That's not the way it should be. You should have him in the room so he has that pressure to make sure that something gets done. And I guarantee you he will go up on those numbers. I guarantee you it'll go from 1 trillion to 2 trillion very, very fast, because he doesn't want to walk out of that room not getting a deal made. That's his whole reputation right there. And so, I don't understand why they're not pushing for him to be in the room. But yeah, I'm talking about both of them. Both him and Mitch McConnell need to be in the room. You can have Stephen Mnuchin in there. He knows the financials. That's good. Have him in there so he can crunch the numbers while they're doing the negotiating. But President Trump needs to be there. He needs to feel some of this pressure that's going on right now. He's not feeling any of it. I mean, how can you tell me that you're taking something serious if you're out playing golf while they're doing the negotiating? Or you're signing executive orders from your golf course instead of being at the White House trying to fight for the people? I mean, it's crazy to me, but that's one of the things they need to really push. And I'm telling you, you force the president. You will force the president to be there if you make it known that he doesn't want to be there. If you put it out there, yes, we're only going to negotiate with the president and Mitch McConnell, and he says no, I can guarantee you the public will not be happy about that, because nothing will get done, because you're telling them, you know what, I need to negotiate with elected officials. That's why they were elected by the people, so they can represent the people. That's all you have to say. Everybody's going to understand that. Yeah, you know what? We voted for him, or we didn't vote for him, what have you, but he's supposed to represent us. Why is he not in the room? So that's, I'm going to stop with that because I can just continue going on and on. But this is something that I'm hoping they figure out and they say, yes, this is the way things need to go. All right, now let's talk about the good story of the day. So Kamala Harris is now the vice presidential running mate of Joe Biden. So that's good news if you like that $2,000 a month stimulus check, because both her and Joe Biden have said that they're on board for $2,000 stimulus check until the pandemic is over. So we could be in a situation, let's say they get elected in November, they will be inaugurated January 20th. So after that, if the pandemic is still here, then there's a good possibility that could be some legislation that goes through. So it just depends. If you might not like Joe Biden, you might not like Kamala Harris, but I'm just telling you, if you are for stimulus checks, monthly stimulus checks, they are both sympathetic to that. They both want the $2,000 a month stimulus checks. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, Congress has to play a role. We probably will see a lot of changes in Congress coming up in November, just because I think people are very, very upset with how things have been happening when it comes to the crisis and the stimulus packages and things like that. So we might see some big changes. The Senate could go Democratic. The House of Representatives are already Democratic. They might stay Democratic. So we could see House of Representatives Democratic, Senate Democratic, and the presidency Democratic. So we'll have to see where it goes. But I just thought that was some good news based on the fact that they are both for a $2,000 a month stimulus check. So let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think it was a good move as far as having Kamala Harris as the vice presidential candidate? Let us know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.